My fiancée printed her ex's name instead of mine on our wedding invites. She laughed and said, "Oops, just a mistake." I smiled, made a call, canceled everything, and sent a brand new invite to my single and thriving party. Her mom's voicemail? Priceless. I'm 29, male, work as a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company, and up until 3 weeks ago I thought I was about to marry the love of my life. Her name was Emma. We met in college, stayed together through all the usual growing pains, moved in together 2 years ago, and got engaged last October. It wasn't a flashy proposal, just us on a hiking trail she loved, sunrise coming up over the mountains, and me on one knee with my grandmother's ring. She cried. I cried. It felt perfect. The wedding was set for June 14th. We'd been planning for months, venue booked, caterer locked in, guest list finalized. Emma wanted something elegant, but not stuffy, around 150 people, mostly family and close friends. I was fine with whatever made her happy. I handled the tech side of things, setting up our wedding website, managing RSVPs through a shared spreadsheet, and she took point on the aesthetic stuff. Flowers, color schemes, invitations. The invitations were a whole thing. Emma spent weeks researching designs on Pinterest, debating between matte and glossy finishes, arguing with her mom about whether to include a separate reception card or just put everything on one invite. Finally, she settled on this beautiful cream-colored cardstock with gold foil lettering. They cost a small fortune, like $800 for 150 invitations, but she was so excited about them that I didn't complain. They arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, April 22nd. I was working from home, on a Zoom call with my team, when I heard Emma squeal from the living room. I muted myself and called out, "Everything okay?" "They're here! The invitations are here." I wrapped up the call as quickly as I could and found her sitting on the floor surrounded by cardboard and tissue paper, holding one of the invites up to the light, like it was a piece of art. "Look how gorgeous these are," she said, beaming. "The foil came out perfect." I sat down next to her and picked one up. The design was beautiful, exactly what she'd wanted. Elegant script, our names at the top, details below, except something was wrong. The top line read, "Emma Catherine Morrison and Daniel James Chen request the pleasure of your company." Daniel James Chen, not Lucas James Morrison. Me. Lucas. Daniel was her ex-boyfriend from college. They dated for 2 years before she met me, broke up badly, hadn't spoken in over 3 years as far as I knew. I read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. "Emma," I said slowly, "why does this say Daniel?" She looked at me, then at the invitation in my hand. For a split second, and I swear this is what got me, I saw something flicker across her face. Not shock, not horror, just calculation, like she was deciding how to play this. Then she laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not an "oh my God, I can't believe this happened" laugh. A genuine, almost dismissive laugh. "Oh my God," she said, covering her mouth. "Oops, that's so embarrassing. Just a mistake, babe. Just a mistake." I stared at her. "How does this happen? You proofed these, right? The company sends you a sample before they print the whole batch." I know," she said, waving her hand like it was no big deal. "I must have been distracted when I checked it. I've been so busy with work and the venue changes and everything, it's just a typo." "It's not a typo, Emma. A typo is misspelling a word. This is your ex-boyfriend's entire name." She rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes at me. "Lucas, don't be dramatic. It's a mistake. We'll just order new ones." "Another $800? "I don't know. Maybe they'll give us a discount since they printed the wrong name." "They didn't print the wrong name. You approved the wrong name." That's when her tone shifted. She stood up, brushed off her jeans, and crossed her arms. "Why are you making such a big deal about this? Accidents happen." I said I was sorry. "You didn't actually say you were sorry. Well, I am. Sorry. There, can we move on now? I looked down at the pile of invitations on the floor, 150 of them, all announcing Emma's wedding to Daniel instead of me. And she was treating it like I'd found a typo on a grocery receipt. I stood up, grabbed my phone and keys, and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" she called after me. "Out. I need to think." "Lucas, come on, don't be like this." I closed the door behind me before she could finish. Update 1, I drove around for an hour, just processing. The more I thought about it, the less sense it made. Emma wasn't careless. She was obsessive about details, the kind of person who color-coded her closet and alphabetized her spice rack. There was no way she accidentally put her ex's name on our wedding invitations and didn't notice until they arrived. I ended up at my best friend Marco's apartment. He took one look at my face and handed me a beer. "What happened?" I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, which is one of the reasons Marco's been my best friend since high school. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then, "Man, that's not a mistake. That's what I'm thinking. What are you gonna do?" "I don't know yet. But something's wrong. This doesn't just happen." Marco leaned back on his couch. "You want my opinion? Check her phone." "I'm not doing that. I'm not saying snoop for no reason. But if you're about to marry this girl and something feels off, you have a right to know what you're walking into." I went home around 10 p.m. Emma was in bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I walked in. "Are you done being mad?" she asked, like I was a toddler who'd thrown a tantrum. "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm confused." "This doesn't make sense, Emma." She sighed heavily. "Lucas, I told you it was a mistake. What else do you want me to say?" "I want you to explain how it happened." "I already did." "I was distracted. I didn't proofread carefully enough, and I missed it. That's all." "Show me the proof email from the invitation company." Her eyes narrowed. "What?" "The email where they sent you the sample to approve." "Show me. Why would I still have that?" "I delete old emails all the time." "It was 3 weeks ago, Emma. Just show me." She stared at me for a long moment, then put her phone face down on the nightstand. "I'm not showing you my emails because you're being paranoid and controlling." "Controlling?" "Yes, you're acting like I did this on purpose, which is insane. And now you want to go through my private messages like I'm some kind of criminal." I felt something inside me go cold and still. If it was really just a mistake, you'd have no problem showing me. "It's the principle of the thing, Lucas. I shouldn't have to prove anything to you." I nodded slowly. "Okay, then I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight." She didn't try to stop me. Update 2, I barely slept. Around 6 a.m. I got up and made coffee, then sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. I pulled up our shared wedding planning folder. We'd kept everything organized in Google Drive. Guest lists, vendor contracts, budget spreadsheets, everything. I found the folder labeled Invitations and opened it. There were maybe 30 files in there. Design mock-ups, font samples, color swatches. And then I found it. A PDF labeled final_proof_approved.pdf. I opened it. The name on the proof was Lucas James Morrison. My name. Correct. Meaning Emma had changed it after approving the proof. She'd gone back into the design file, switched my name to Daniel's, and resubmitted it to the printer. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. I sat there staring at the screen, my coffee going cold in my hands, trying to understand why someone would do this. What was the end game? Was she still in love with Daniel? Was this some kind of sick test? Was she sabotaging the wedding on purpose? Emma came out around 7:30, already dressed for work. She saw me at the table and froze. "What are you doing?" I turned the laptop toward her. "I found the approved proof. Your name is right." "My name is right. You changed it afterward." All the color drained from her face. This wasn't a mistake, Emma. You did this on purpose. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried to laugh it off. I don't know. Maybe I opened an old file by accident. Stop lying! My voice came out harder than I intended. She flinched. I'm not. Yes, you are. You've been lying since the invitations arrived. Just tell me the truth. Why did you put Daniel's name on our wedding invitations? She stood there for what felt like forever, and I watched her face cycle through about 5 different emotions before she finally landed on anger. Because I wanted to see if you'd even notice, she shouted. I wanted to see if you cared enough about this wedding to actually pay attention. I just stared at her. You've been so checked out, Lucas. I've been planning everything by myself. You barely ask about anything. You just nod and say, whatever you want, babe. So, yeah, I changed the name to see if you'd actually look at the invitations, and surprise, you did notice. Congratulations. You're blaming me for this? I'm saying you don't care about this wedding. I don't care? Emma, I've paid for half of everything. I built the website, I've been to every venue meeting, every tasting, but you're not excited. You're just going through the motions. So you put your ex-boyfriend's name on our invitations as some kind of psycho test? She didn't answer, just glared at me with her arms crossed. I stood up, closed my laptop, and went to the bedroom. Started packing a bag. What are you doing? She followed me, voice going panicky now. I'm staying at Marco's for a few days. I need space to figure out if I even want to marry someone who plays mind games like this. Lucas, don't go. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. It was stupid. I shouldn't have done it. I zipped the bag and looked at her. Why Daniel? Out of all the names in the world, why him? She didn't answer, and that's when I knew. Update 3. I stayed at Marco's for 5 days. Emma called and texted constantly at first. Apologies, explanations, promises it would never happen again. I didn't respond. I was too busy doing something I should have done months ago, actually looking into what she'd been up to. I didn't hack her phone or anything crazy. I just paid attention. Started checking the locations on our shared Find My Friends app that we'd set up for safety. Noticed that 3 times in the past 2 months, she'd been at an address across town that wasn't her office, wasn't her gym, wasn't any place I recognized. I Googled the address. It was a condo building. I called Emma's best friend, Riley. We'd always gotten along well, and I had a feeling she might know something. Riley, I need you to be honest with me. Is Emma seeing Daniel again? Long silence. Riley. Lucas, I can't. Please. She sighed. They've been talking. I don't know how much or about what. She told me they reconnected on Instagram a few months ago and were just being friendly. I told her it was a bad idea, but she said you wouldn't understand. My chest felt tight. Has she seen him in person? Another pause. I think so. Maybe twice. She said it was just coffee, closure stuff, nothing romantic. Did she tell you about the invitations? What about them? She put his name on them instead of mine. She what? Oh my God, Lucas, no. I didn't know about that. We talked for a few more minutes. Riley seemed genuinely shocked and apologetic. Before we hung up, she said, For what it's worth, I think you deserve better than this. I called my mom that night, told her everything. She was quiet for a long time, then said, Honey, I love you, and I want you to be happy. But if you're having doubts like this before you're even married, imagine what it'll be like after. That's when I made the decision. Update 4. I came back to the apartment on day 6. Emma was there, looking exhausted and hopeful at the same time. Lucas, thank God. Can we please talk? Yeah, I said. We can talk. We sat down on the couch. She immediately launched into this whole speech about how she knew she messed up, how she'd been feeling insecure about us, how seeing Daniel again had been a mistake, but it meant nothing, and she wanted to move forward and get married and make this work. I let her finish. Then I said, very calmly, I'm calling off the wedding. She went pale. What? I can't marry you, Emma. I don't trust you anymore. Because of the invitations? Lucas, I explained. It's not just the invitations. You've been lying to me for months. You've been seeing your ex behind my back. You manipulated our wedding invitations as some kind of sick test, and even now you're still trying to minimize it and make excuses. I can't build a life with someone who does that. Tears started streaming down her face. Please don't do this. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. I don't think you do. I think you're comfortable with me. I think you like the life we've built. But I don't think you're in love with me, and honestly, I'm not sure I'm in love with you anymore either. She sobbed. I felt bad. I'm not a monster. But I also felt relief, like a weight lifting. I'm going to handle canceling everything, I said. I'll take care of the vendors, get back whatever deposits we can. You can keep the ring if you want, or sell it, I don't care. I'll move out by the end of the month. Lucas, we're done, Emma. Final update. It's been 3 weeks. I'm living with Marco temporarily while I look for my own place. Emma moved back in with her parents. She sent me a few messages in the first week, mostly angry, calling me a coward, saying I gave up too easily. I blocked her after that. The vendor calls were awkward, but not as bad as I expected. Most places were understanding. We lost some deposits, but split the cost down the middle. The venue coordinator actually said, "Better now than later, honey." Trust me, I did end up sending out new invitations, not wedding ones. Marco thought it was petty, but I didn't care. I designed them myself. Simple, clean, a little bit funny. Lucas Morrison invites you to celebrate being single and thriving. June 14th, 7 p.m. BBQ, drinks, and no relationship drama. RSVP for good vibes only. I sent them to my close friends and family. Most people loved it. My brother called me laughing his ass off. My mom was worried I was being bitter, but even she admitted it was kind of genius. The best part? Emma's mom called me 2 days after I sent them out. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail. I've listened to it maybe 10 times. Lucas, this is Patricia. I wanted to say I'm so sorry about everything. Emma told me what happened and I'm mortified. You deserved better than this. For what it's worth, I always liked you. I hope you find someone who treats you right. And, I have to admit, your invitation made me laugh. Good for you. I saved that voicemail. The party's in 2 weeks. 47 people have RSVP'd yes so far. Marco's handling the grill, my brother's DJing, and my mom's making her famous potato salad, even though she's still worried I'm using humor to mask pain. She's probably right, but whatever. As for Emma, I heard through mutual friends that she and Daniel are officially together now. Good for them, I guess. They deserve each other. Me? I'm doing okay. Better than okay, actually. I've been hitting the gym, picked up rock climbing again, and started seeing a therapist to work through some stuff. Turns out dodging a bullet feels pretty damn good once the shock wears off, and in 2 weeks, I'm throwing the party of the year. My fiancée found my old love letters and laughed while reading them aloud. She mocked my handwriting, my words, my feelings. I finished my coffee. Done? I didn't argue. I sent one short text to a contact she never expected. That night, her phone buzzed once, and that's when everything stopped. I'm a 33-year-old man who thought I'd found the person I'd spend my life with. I'm a graphic designer who works mostly from home, and I'd been with my fiancée for 2 years. We got engaged 6 months ago in what I thought was a mutual decision built on love and respect. She works in marketing at a tech startup, ambitious and driven in ways I admired. We lived together in my apartment, a place I'd owned for 5 years, filled with my things, my memories, my life before her. Last Saturday morning started normally enough. I was in the kitchen making coffee, scrolling through work emails on my phone. She was supposed to be getting ready for brunch with her friends, but I heard her rummaging around in my office closet where I keep old boxes of stuff I haven't sorted through in years. "What are you doing?" I called out. "Looking for that photo album you mentioned," she yelled back. "The one from college." I didn't think much of it. She'd asked about my college days the night before, wanted to see pictures. I told her there was an old album somewhere in my office closet, buried under boxes of textbooks and random junk I'd never thrown away. 10 minutes later, she walked into the kitchen with a shoebox I hadn't seen in probably a decade. My stomach dropped when I recognized it. "Found something way better than photos," she said, grinning. She sat down at the kitchen table and opened the box. Inside were letters. Handwritten letters I'd written when I was 19, during my first serious relationship. Letters I'd never sent because we'd broken up before I could give them to her. Letters I'd kept because I was sentimental and stupid and 19. "What are these?" she asked, but she was already pulling one out, unfolding it. "Those are private," I said, walking over. "Can you put them back?" She ignored me, started reading aloud. "Every time I see you, I forget how to breathe properly. Is that normal? Because I'm pretty sure I'm oxygen deprived around you?" She laughed. Not a kind laugh. A mocking one that made my chest tighten. "Oh my God, this is so cringe. Did you actually write this?" "Stop," I said. "Seriously, put them back." She pulled out another one, clearly enjoying herself now. "I know we're young, but I can't imagine loving anyone the way I love you. You're my person. My always." She snorted, actually snorted. "Your person? What are you, a character in a bad romance novel? This is gold." I felt my face getting hot. "I was 19. Can you please stop?" "Look at this handwriting," she said, holding up one of the letters toward the light like she was examining evidence. "It's so messy. And you spelled definitely wrong. DEFINATELY. Did you even graduate high school?" "I was writing fast. It's a first draft. I wasn't planning on—" "Your smile makes me believe in magic," she read, barely able to contain her laughter. "Holy shit, you were such a sap. Still are, I guess. No wonder you're always so emotional about everything." I stood there, holding my coffee mug, feeling like I'd been stripped naked in front of strangers. These weren't just old letters. They were pieces of who I'd been. Vulnerable, earnest, believing that words mattered and feelings were worth expressing. They were from a time when I thought being honest about emotions was strength, not weakness. "Are you done?" I asked quietly. "Wait, there's more." She shuffled through the box like she was searching for treasure. "I'm not good with words. Well, that's obvious. But I need you to know that you changed me. Before you, I didn't think I was capable of feeling this much." She looked up at me, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. "Dude, this is painful. This is like reading a teenage diary. Were you always this dramatic?" I set my coffee down, carefully, calmly. "Yes, I'm done now. There's like 20 letters here. Come on, I want to read more. This is hilarious." "No." Something in my voice made her look up. The smile faltered slightly. "What's wrong? I'm just teasing. Can't you take a joke? You're mocking me. It's just funny. You have to admit this stuff is over the top. You're my person? Come on." It's how I felt, at 19, about someone I cared about. "Yeah, someone who isn't me," she said, her smile fading more now. "Should I be worried you still have love letters to an ex? That's kind of weird, don't you think? I forgot they existed until you dug them up. And even if I remembered, they're mine. Private. You had no right to read them, let alone mock them." "Oh, come on. Don't be so sensitive. It's not that serious." "It is to me." She rolled her eyes. "Whatever. If you can't laugh at your younger self, you're going to have a miserable life. You take everything so personally." She put the letters back in the box, but left it on the table. "I'm meeting the girls. We'll talk later when you've calmed down." She grabbed her purse and left. The apartment door closed behind her with a soft click. I stood in the kitchen, staring at that shoebox, feeling something shift inside me, something fundamental and irreversible. See, here's the thing she didn't know. Those letters? They weren't just teenage melodrama. They were from a period of my life when I was dealing with my father's terminal illness. My first girlfriend had been there through the worst of it. And those letters were me trying to process grief and love and fear all at once. Writing them was the only way I could make sense of watching my father disappear a little more each day while trying to be strong for my mother and younger sister. I never sent them because my girlfriend broke up with me 2 weeks before my father died, said she couldn't handle the heaviness anymore, that she needed to focus on her own mental health. I didn't blame her then, and I don't blame her now. We were kids dealing with adult pain. The letters stayed in that box because they weren't really about her. They were about me, trying to find solid ground when everything was falling apart. They were about a boy becoming a man in the worst possible way, trying to hold on to something pure and good while death took over his house. They were private not because I was pining for an ex, but because they represented the rawest, most vulnerable version of myself I'd ever been, and my fiancé had just used them as entertainment, treated my teenage grief like it was a comedy sketch. I picked up my phone, scrolled through my contacts, found the one I needed, her older sister, the one she barely spoke to, the one she'd mentioned exactly twice in 2 years, always with tension in her voice, always changing the subject quickly. I'd met her sister once, briefly, at a family gathering my fiancé had reluctantly brought me to. We'd talked for maybe 10 minutes while my fiancé was in another room. She'd seemed nice, grounded, tired of family drama, but not bitter about it. Before she'd left that day, she'd given me her number and said, "If you ever need to know the truth about anything, call me. I mean it. I know how she is." At the time, I thought it was weird, maybe even inappropriate. Now, I understood exactly what she'd meant. I sent a text. "This is your sister's fiancé. We need to talk. It's important." The reply came 30 seconds later. "I've been waiting for this message for 6 months. Coffee tomorrow, 10 a.m. We met at a cafe downtown, one I'd never been to, far enough from our usual spots that we wouldn't run into anyone we knew. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in the back corner with 2 cups of coffee waiting on the table. "Black, right?" she said as I sat down. "I remember from the party. You're one of those people who actually likes the taste of coffee." "Yeah, thanks. So what finally made you reach out?" She leaned back in her chair, looking tired but not surprised. "Let me guess. She found something personal and used it against you." I told her about the letters, about the mocking, about the feeling that I'd been seeing signs for months but ignoring them, explaining them away, making excuses. She nodded slowly, like I was confirming something she already knew. "The cruelty? Yeah. She did that with my wedding vows," her sister said quietly. "I got married 4 years ago. Small ceremony, very personal. I wrote my own vows, spent weeks on them. They were about my husband's kindness, his patience, the way he made me feel safe. Real things, true things." She paused, stirring her coffee. She got a copy of the program at the wedding. 2 days later, she posted them on social media with commentary about how basic and uninspired they were. Tagged me. Her friends all piled on, making jokes. One of them said I must have copied them from Pinterest. Another said they were so boring she fell asleep reading them. I felt sick. Jesus, I'm so sorry. I haven't spoken to her since 4 years. She never apologized. When I confronted her, she said I was being oversensitive, that she was just having fun, that if I couldn't take a joke, that was my problem. Said I was making a big deal out of nothing and that I should be flattered she paid enough attention to read them at all. Why are you telling me this? Because you're going to marry someone who thinks vulnerability is weakness. Someone who sees genuine emotion as something to mock. Someone who will take the most private, sacred parts of you and turn them into entertainment for her friends. And I want you to know that before you do. Before you waste years trying to figure out why you never feel safe with her. Is there more? She hesitated, looking down at her coffee. There's always more with her. But that's not my story to tell. What I can tell you is that she has a pattern. She finds people who are kind, who are open, who feel things deeply, and then she slowly dismantles them, makes them feel stupid for caring, for trying, for being human. By the end, they don't even recognize themselves anymore. Why? I've wondered that for years. Talked to my therapist about it. Best I can figure, she's deeply insecure about her own inability to connect with people on that level, so she tears down anyone who can, makes herself feel superior by making others feel small. It's easier than admitting she's empty inside. That's awful. It is, but it's who she is. She slid a piece of paper across the table. That's the name and number of her ex-boyfriend. The one before you. She told you he was crazy, right? Controlling? Unstable? Maybe even abusive? Yeah. Said he had anger issues that she had to get a restraining order. None of that happened. He's a kindergarten teacher who volunteers at animal shelters on weekends, cries at Disney movies. The restraining order never existed. Call him. Ask him why they really broke up. I took the paper, my hand shaking slightly. Why are you helping me? Because someone should have helped him. Someone should have helped me. And because despite everything, I don't actually hate my sister. I just can't watch her destroy people anymore, without at least trying to warn them. I've been carrying guilt for 4 years about not reaching out to you sooner. When I met you at that party, I saw how you looked at her, how gentle you were, and I knew. I knew she'd eventually do this to you. I'm sorry I didn't say something then. Why didn't you? Because I didn't have proof, just a feeling. And who believes the estranged sister? But now you're here, and that means she's already started. So now I'm telling you. Run. I called the ex that night, after my fiancé texted that she was staying at her friend's place and needed space. He was hesitant at first, but when I explained who I was and what I wanted to know, he opened up. She found my journal, he said, his voice quiet. I kept a journal, had for years since high school. It was therapy for me, you know? A place to process things. She read it without asking, then used things I'd written, private thoughts, fears, insecurities, against me in arguments. Would quote my own words back at me to make me feel pathetic. How long were you together? 3 years. 3 years of slowly being eroded. Took me 2 years after to stop feeling like everything I thought or felt was wrong. I'm in therapy now, still working through it. Did she ever apologize? No. She said I should be grateful she cared enough to want to understand me better. That reading my journal showed how invested she was. That if I had nothing to hide, I shouldn't mind her reading my private thoughts. By the end, she had me believing it was my fault for having boundaries. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry it's happening to you. Because it is happening, even if you don't see the full picture yet. My advice? Get out now. Don't wait like I did. That night, when she came home from her friend's place, I was sitting in the living room with the shoebox of letters on the coffee table. I'd spent the afternoon reading them for the first time in years, crying over the boy I'd been, grieving for my father all over again. Oh, you're still mad about that? She said, dropping her purse on the couch. I told you, it was just jokes. You really need to lighten up. Why did you and your sister stop talking? Her face changed immediately. The casual mask dropped. That's none of your business. Why did your ex really leave? I told you he was... I talked to him. And to your sister. She went very still, like a predator that's just spotted movement. You did what? I needed context. For the letters. For a lot of things, actually. For all the times you've made me feel crazy for having feelings. You had no right to contact them. You had no right to read my private letters and mock them. But here we are. This is different. Is it? How? She sat down slowly, calculating. I could see her trying to figure out what they'd told me, how much damage control she needed to do. What did they tell you? The truth, I think. About how you treat people. About patterns I've been ignoring for months because I kept telling myself you were just stressed from work, or tired, or having a bad day. They're lying. They're both bitter and— Your sister has a recording, I said, of her wedding vows, and screenshots of what you posted about them. She showed me. Her face went pale. She had no right. Your ex kept a record of text messages where you quoted his journal entries back at him during fights. He showed me those too. That's taken out of context. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. I'm tired of the gaslighting. I'm not gaslighting you. You are. You've been doing it for months. Every time I have a feeling you don't like, you tell me I'm being too sensitive. Every time I set a boundary, you tell me I'm being unreasonable. Every time something hurts, you tell me it's my fault for caring too much. Fine. Her voice went hard. You want the truth? Yes. I read your stupid letters. Yes, I thought they were ridiculous, because they were. You were a melodramatic teenager writing cringe poetry to a girl who didn't even appreciate it. It was pathetic then, and it's pathetic that you kept them. You don't get to decide what mattered to me. And you don't get to be so fragile that you can't handle a little teasing. Grow up. It wasn't teasing, it was cruelty. There's a difference, and you know it. She stood up, her jaw tight. If you're this upset over some old letters, maybe you're not ready to be married. Maybe you're too weak for a real relationship. You're right. I'm not ready. Not to you. The silence was deafening. What? I pulled the engagement ring off my finger, set it on the coffee table next to the shoebox. We're done. Over some letters? Are you insane? Over the fact that you think vulnerability deserves mockery. Over the pattern of treating people's feelings like they're jokes. Over the realization that you're not the person I thought you were. Over the fact that I can't trust you with the softest parts of me. You're overreacting. This is insane. Maybe. But I'd rather overreact than spend the rest of my life wondering when you'll use my words, my feelings, my private thoughts against me. I'd rather be alone than be with someone who makes me feel small. You can't just— We're engaged. My parents already sent out save the dates. We're engaged. Past tense. And you can explain to them why the wedding's off. She grabbed her phone. You're going to regret this. You're making a huge mistake. Probably not. She called someone, put it on speaker, probably hoping whoever it was would talk sense into me. I realized it was her mother. Mom, he's breaking up with me. Over nothing. Over some stupid old letters. Tell him he's being ridiculous. Her mother's voice came through, tired and unsurprised. Sweetheart, what happened? I found some old love letters he wrote to an ex and made a few jokes about them, and now he's— You read his private letters? Her mother interrupted. They were just sitting there in a box. Did you ask permission? No, but they were just— Did he ask you to stop reading them? Yes, but they were so funny Goodbye, sweetheart. I'll call you later. The line went dead. My fiancée stared at her phone in shock. She hung up on me. My own mother hung up on me. Seems like it. This is your fault. You turned her against me. You turned everyone against me. I didn't have to. You did that yourself. She grabbed her things, shoving them into her purse violently. I'm staying at a friend's tonight. When I come back tomorrow, you better have changed your mind. You better have that ring back on your finger and an apology ready. I won't have. We'll see about that. She left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the pictures on the wall. I sat in the quiet apartment, feeling lighter than I had in months, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even know was there. The next day, her mother called me directly. I owe you an apology, she said. I've watched my daughter do this to people for years. I kept hoping she'd grow out of it, that she'd mature, that she'd learn. I'm sorry I didn't warn you. I'm sorry I let you get engaged to her without saying something. It's not your fault. She gets it from her father. He was the same way. Found people's vulnerabilities and exploited them for entertainment. Made people feel stupid for having emotions. I divorced him when she was 12, but the damage was done. She watched him do it to me for years, and then she learned to do it herself. She'll be by tomorrow to get her things. I know. She called me crying last night. Genuine tears, probably the first real emotion I've seen from her in years. I told her if she wanted sympathy, she'd need to start by apologizing to you, her sister, her ex-boyfriend, and everyone else she's hurt. Did she? She hung up on me. Again. My ex-fiancé did come by to get her things. Brought 2 friends as backup, probably expecting a fight. I stayed in my office with the door closed while they packed up her belongings. I could hear her talking to her friends, spinning the story, painting herself as the victim. He's just so oversensitive, she said. Can't take any criticism, can't laugh at himself. I dodged a bullet, honestly. One of her friends knocked on my office door before they left. For what it's worth, she said quietly when I opened it, I think you made the right call. She showed us the letters last night. They were sweet. She was being cruel. We told her that. She didn't listen. She never does. They left. The apartment was mine again. I spent that evening boxing up everything that reminded me of her, putting it in storage. I kept the letters, though. Put them back in the shoebox, back in the closet. This time I knew exactly where they were. 3 months later, I ran into her sister at a bookstore. We grabbed coffee and she told me my ex had tried to reconcile with her, sent a long email about misunderstandings and moving forward and letting go of the past. Her sister had replied with one line, apologize for the vows first. She never did. 6 months after the breakup, I started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee dates and casual dinners. I met someone who asked about my past, and I told her about the letters. She asked if she could read one. I said no, they're private. She smiled and said, good. That's how it should be. Some things are just yours. That's when I knew I'd learned the lesson I needed to learn. I'm doing better now. Still processing, still healing. I started therapy to work through why I ignored the red flags for so long. My therapist says I have a pattern of making excuses for people who don't deserve them, of seeing potential instead of reality. We're working on it. I also dug out those old letters and actually read them properly for the first time in over a decade. They were melodramatic and messy and earnest. They were also honest in a way I'd forgotten how to be. They were written by a boy who wasn't afraid to feel everything fully, even if it meant risking embarrassment or pain. I'm trying to get back to that version of myself, the one who believed that being vulnerable was brave, that expressing emotion was strength, that words mattered and feelings were worth protecting. The biggest lesson I learned is that the right person doesn't make you feel stupid for caring. They don't weaponize your vulnerability or turn your honesty into entertainment. They don't mock the soft parts of you that took courage to show. And if someone does those things, it doesn't matter how much you love them or how much time you've invested, they're showing you exactly who they are. I believe them now, and I'm grateful for that shoebox of letters, because they reminded me who I am when I'm not trying to be smaller for someone else's comfort. My fiancé announced, I'm not moving to that dull little town for your job. I responded, I hear you. Then I accepted the promotion and relocated solo. When she learned my dull job paid $600,000 a year, her attempts to reconnect flooded in. I'm Lucas, 32, and I was with Sarah, 29, for 5 years, engaged for 1. We lived in a bustling city where she thrived as a home stager, and I was a lead software engineer at a tech firm. Life was good. I earned about $120,000, she made $80,000, and we enjoyed a sleek apartment and trendy dining spots, the full city professional vibe. Last March, my company offered me a game changer, leading the engineering division at a new R&D facility. The catch? It was in what Sarah called a nowhere town of 30,000, 3 hours from any major city. The package was jaw-dropping, $450,000 base salary, up to $150,000 in bonuses, a full relocation package, and equity that could be worth millions if the facility succeeded. Plus, the cost of living there was 60% lower than our city. I came home buzzing to share the news. "Sarah, I got an unbelievable offer today." She glanced up from her tablet, scrolling design sites. "That's awesome. When do you start? We should celebrate. There's something we need to discuss." "It's in Willow Creek." Her face twisted. "Where?" "A smaller town 3 hours north, but the role—" "You're kidding, right? You want us to move to some random place?" "Sarah, it's head of the division." A huge career leap. She laughed, not warmly. "Lucas, I'm not moving to some dull little town for your job. My career's here, my clients, my contacts, everything. You could rebuild your network. Home stagers work everywhere. In a 30,000-person town? What, stage farmhouses? That's ridiculous. That's not fair." "No, what's not fair is you thinking I'd leave everything for some backwater. Our life's here. Friends, culture, good food. The salary. I don't care about the salary. Money's not everything, Lucas. Lifestyle matters." She stood, fuming. "If you loved me, you wouldn't even think about this." My answer's no. No way. I looked at the woman I planned to marry, who hadn't asked about the pay, the role's impact, or the town itself. "I hear you," I said softly. "Good. Can we drop this now?" But I didn't. Over the next 2 weeks, I researched Willow Creek. It wasn't the barren void Sarah pictured. Vibrant downtown, solid schools, scenic trails, and a budding tech scene thanks to companies like mine. Homes that cost $2 million in our city were $400,000 there. Update 1. I took the job without telling Sarah. Harsh, I know, but every time I tried to talk it out, she'd cut me off with, "We settled this," or "Stop trying to ruin my life." She wouldn't glance at the town's photos or hear the financial upside. Her friends didn't help. Sarah shared the offer, omitting the salary, and they backed her up. Sarah in a small town? Her friend Emily laughed at a dinner. She'd lose it in a week. Lucas is being selfish, another friend Chloe added, expecting you to ditch everything for his job. Total male ego. I'm right here, I said. Well, it's true, Chloe shrugged. Making a woman follow you is outdated. But it's fine to expect a man to pass on a massive opportunity? I asked. It's not massive if it wrecks your life, Sarah said, patting my arm like I was clueless. That night, I decided. I called my boss the next morning and accepted. They gave me 6 weeks to transition and move. I quietly prepared, opened a new bank account for the relocation bonus and salary bump, scouted houses in Willow Creek, started paperwork. 3 weeks in, Sarah noticed my distance. What's with you lately? She asked over dinner. Work stuff. Well, stop brooding. It's grating that sealed it. Update 2. 2 weeks before moving, I told her. We need to talk, I said one Sunday morning. If this is about that town again, I took the job. I'm moving to Willow Creek in 2 weeks. She stared, then laughed. You're joking. I'm not. I've rented a house. Movers come next Monday. Her face paled. You're serious? We're engaged. And you made it clear your life here trumps our future together. That's not what I said. You said you wouldn't move for my job or any job. You wouldn't discuss it because there's nothing to discuss. You're throwing away our life for some job? It's not just a job. It's leading a division, a career-defining role. I don't care if they made you president. I'm not moving, I know. That's why I'm going alone. She stood, trembling. You're picking a job over me? You picked your lifestyle over us. I'm accepting that if you go, we're done. I know. You're tossing 5 years for money? I almost told her about the $600,000 package then, but stopped. It wouldn't matter. She decided without asking about the money, caring only about her city life. It's not about money. It's about respect. You dismissed my opportunity without a conversation, expecting me to comply. Because I thought you loved me. I do. But I also respect myself enough not to sacrifice my future because you think small towns are boring. Update 3. The next 2 weeks were chaos. Sarah went through every stage. Anger first, tossing my clothes from our closet, telling friends I was abandoning her, posting vague social media rants about men obsessed with cash. Then bargaining, what if you commute? 3 hours isn't bad. You could come back weekends. That's not practical, Sarah. I'll visit. We can do long distance. You said if I leave, it's over. I was upset. We can figure it out, can we? You won't even visit the town. Then sadness. She cried nonstop, saying I was destroying her life. She'd never love again. I was making a mistake. Finally, back to anger when I didn't budge. On moving day, she stayed at Emily's, blocking me on everything but email for lease logistics. The drive to Willow Creek was calm. I could finally breathe. The town was better than photos. My rental was a charming 3-bedroom bungalow with a yard, unthinkable in the city. My new office was cutting edge, my team sharp and eager. The work was intense but thrilling, leading 50 engineers, shaping the company's future. Update 4. Willow Creek was great. I joined a local fitness center, bonded with neighbors, discovered cozy eateries. Yes, they existed. The town had a lively vibe. Markets, festivals, summer concerts. Work excelled. We secured a big contract, and my first quarterly bonus was $40,000. My yearly pay was on track for $600,000. I bought a house, not rented, bought a stunning 4-bedroom Victorian on 2 acres for $425,000, worth $3 million in our old city. Then the messages started. First, Chloe. Hey Lucas, hope you're good. Random Q. Sarah said you took a new job? She's vague about it. Everything okay? I ignored it. Then Emily. Lucas, can we talk? Sarah's struggling. Maybe you two should chat, ignored. Then Sarah's mom, Linda, whom I liked. Lucas, what happened? Sarah said you chose work over her. That's not like you. I replied. Hi, Linda. Sarah refused to consider relocating for my career advancement. I respected her choice and made mine. Hope she's well. Linda responded. She didn't say it was a promotion. She called it a lateral move to nowhere. I didn't correct her. Not my job to fix Sarah's story. Update 5. The floodgates opened after a LinkedIn post. A professional shot from our division's product launch, captioned, "Thrilled to lead this stellar engineering team as we unveil Project Horizon. Incredible progress in 6 months at our Willow Creek hub." My profile blew up, old co-workers, industry contacts congratulating me. Then Sarah's email. Division head? Why didn't you tell me you were division head? No reply. 2 hours later. Lucas, I saw the company announcement. The website lists the division head salary range. Is this real? Still silent. More emails. I looked up your house. It's gorgeous. Emily passed through Willow Creek. She said it's actually nice. I messed up. I love you. I'm sorry. We can fix this. Then Emily. Lucas, Sarah told us about your role. We didn't know. She made it sound like a dead-end job in nowhere. I owe you an apology. Even Sarah's work friends messaged, piecing things together from LinkedIn. The best came from her dad, Greg, who rarely spoke during our relationship. Lucas, Linda shared what happened. I own a small manufacturing firm, so I get business moves. You did right, son. Don't look back. P.S. Sarah didn't know I reached out. Neither did she know I knew about your promotion. Linda and I are disappointed in her handling of this Update 6. When I didn't answer Sarah's emails, she upped the ante. She contacted my family. My mom called. Lucas, Sarah called, sobbing, saying she made a mistake. She made a choice, Mom. So did I. She wants to reconcile. There's nothing to fix. She valued her city life over our partnership. People mess up. She didn't mess up, she decided. She's only sorry now because she knows the salary. How much is it? With bonuses, about $600,000. Silence. And she didn't know? She didn't ask. Said money didn't matter. I always thought she was a bit status-obsessed. Sarah flew to Willow Creek, showing up at a cafe I frequented on Saturdays after my neighbor tipped her off. She looked different. No designer outfit, just jeans and a cardigan, like she was trying to blend in. "Hi, Lucas." "Sarah, how'd you find me?" "Your neighbor said you're here Saturdays." "You're talking to my neighbors?" "You ignored my emails. Because there's nothing to say." "There's everything to say. I love you." "I screwed up." "You didn't screw up. You said moving here would ruin your life. Your exact words, I didn't know." "Know what? The salary? The town? You didn't know because you didn't care to ask. That's unfair." "Unfair? You called me selfish. Your friends called me toxic. You threw my clothes out. I was mad. And you're here now because you saw the $600,000. That's not why. Then why not 6 months ago?" "I needed time to reflect." "You needed time to learn what you gave up." She cried, genuine tears. "Lucas, please." "I see it now. The house, the town, your success. We could have a great life here. I'm already having a great life. Without you. That was your call. Let me make it right. I'll move here, start fresh. There's demand for stagers here. I checked." "You check now. After seeing the money. It's not the money. 2 weeks ago, you posted about small-town, small-minded people. About Willow Creek." She froze. "You saw that?" "Emily sent it. Thought I should know. I was hurt." "You were honest. You think you're above this place. You'd be miserable and make me miserable." "I've changed." "No, your situation changed. You saw what you lost, not who update 7. When emotions failed, Sarah went legal. I got a letter from an attorney claiming I owed her for financial losses from our breakup due to misrepresentation. They argued I hid the job's true scope, causing her to decide without full info, leading to damages. I laughed so hard my neighbor checked on me. My lawyer's response was gold. Mr. Bennett repeatedly tried to discuss the opportunity with Ms. Carter, who refused. She ended the relationship over her unwillingness to relocate, regardless of details. Mr. Bennett's success does not constitute misrepresentation. No damages are owed. Sarah then claimed we had a verbal contract for shared future assets as fiancés, and I broke it by taking the job without her approval. My lawyer countered that her ultimatum to end the relationship if I moved voided any implied agreements. Then came her social media blitz, posts about financial manipulation in relationships, implying withholding income details is abuse. She didn't name me, but friends knew. It backfired. An ex-coworker commented, "Didn't you refuse to even talk about the job?" Another, "You said money didn't matter." Chloe shockingly wrote, "Sarah, I was there. You shut him down every time he tried. This isn't manipulation. You chose without asking. Own it." Update 8. A year in Willow Creek and life's incredible. The facility's booming. We launched a product shaking up the industry. My pay hit $625,000 with bonuses. I bought a lakeside cabin 20 minutes from town. I'm dating Mia, a local pediatrician, sharp, hilarious, and thinks brand names are a waste compared to charity donations. Sarah's still in the city, struggling per mutual friends. She lost clients during her bitter phase, ranting about our breakup. Emily grew tired of her complaints about what could have been. Sarah sent one last email last month. "Lucas, I know you've moved on. I saw photos with your new girlfriend. She seems great. I get what I lost, not just the money, though that hurts. I lost someone who wanted to build a future, and I was too shallow to see it. I thought the city, fancy dinners, big events, was everything. I didn't know life could be better elsewhere. I'm not asking for anything, that's gone. I'm sorry for not listening when you shared your excitement. I hope you're happy." "You deserve it," I replied. "Sarah, thanks for the apology. I'm happy. I hope you find yours." Lucas. Last week, I ran into Linda and Greg at a city diner during a work conference. They invited me for coffee. We owe you an apology, Linda said. We raised Sarah to chase status, looks, what others think. When she told us the real story, we were ashamed. She's our daughter, and we love her, Greg added, but you made the right call. Man to man, business owner to division head, you nailed the professional and personal choice. Thanks, that means a lot. She's in therapy, Linda said quietly, working on why she couldn't see past her biases, why she wouldn't listen. I'm glad she's getting help. Are you happy? Very. Amazing job, great town, and Mia. She's incredible. As I left, Greg shook my hand. We'd have been proud to call you son-in-law. Sarah knows she lost a keeper. Here's what I learned. When someone shows their true colors, trust them. Sarah valued her comfort and image over our partnership, refusing even to talk about possibilities. The money wasn't the issue. It never was. She didn't see us as a team, only her life, career, and needs, with me as a prop or hurdle. To anyone in a similar spot, don't sacrifice your future for someone who won't discuss compromise. Don't dim your dreams for someone who thinks theirs outweigh yours. And always ask about the details before saying no to a partner's opportunity. I'm thriving in my dull town, leading a stellar team, earning more than I imagined, with someone who'd follow me anywhere my dreams lead. Sometimes, someone showing their true self is the push you need to walk away. Peace from Willow Creek, the boring town that changed everything. Thanks, Reddit.